Today, I want to talk to you about how to cold email investors, how to think about reaching out to investors, what to do once you've actually thought about your idea, you've potentially built an MVP, you built a very simple version of the product that you want to raise money for. It's very important. There's a lot of you out there, a lot of entrepreneurs who will immediately try and go after investors. What you really want to do is make sure and try to show that there's actually people that are interested in your product before you go out and chase investors. So even if it's a little bit of revenue or, even email lists, so signups on a very basic sign up page where you can show investors that they're interested in your product. There are, of course, a bunch of accelerators, like, for example, Y Combinator, that will invest in you on the basis of just an idea. But of course, to get accepted or by a top tier investor, helping show them that there is actually people that are interested to buy your product will give you a better chance of actually getting in. So when emailing investors, let's say you do have an idea, you built a very basic, it could be SaaS product, you've got a couple of emails, you even potentially have some revenue. How should you reach out to investors? First thing I'd be doing is applying to accelerators. So you want to go after the top ones, for example, Techstars and Y Combinator, try and get into their accelerator because they'll give you a big community of other founders. They'll give you access to some investment. They may even invest in you, but they'll give you that support structure that you need as a founder going into actually trying to build a business. And the second thing that I would do is cold outreach emailing investors. Now, you'll get about a 10 to 20% kind of reply rate on this, depending on how hot your idea is or what the space you're working on. It's not easy to do this. Too many people focus purely on chasing investors. There's a lot more bootstrap companies that are coming up in 2023, which is also some other way to go about it instead of actually going to chase investors. But what you could do is a very simple email. We talk about this on Founder Bounty, a very simple email about who you are, what your product is, and then, here's a deck to talk about my business or that showcases my business a little bit more in depth. Of course, if you have some revenue, it's always good to talk about that. So if you do have some revenue or some kind of revenue stream, it's always good to showcase that. But very simple email. It doesn't have to be very complicated. If the investor or the angel is actually interested in your product, they will respond. For example, if you're building a climate VC and you're reaching out a climate startup and you're reaching out to a climate VC and they're looking at the space already, they may want to talk to you. Corporates also have their own VCs. They may want to talk to you, and those discussions, even if they're not interested, you can always ask them, hey, do you have someone else who could be interested in our product or business? So going after investors is one way of doing it. But of course, as I mentioned before, bootstrapping your business from scratch could be really, really interesting way of going about and getting out there and doing it all alone. This is very, very difficult. Once you do get to the scaling phase of your business and you've passed your MVP, you've created your cost of user acquisition is very, very small. Building the infrastructure and the technology to be able to scale that business is a different type of thing altogether. And a lot of startups actually need capital. But of course, capital and getting venture capital is more and more difficult in 2023. So a lot of you may choose to bootstrap. But think about it carefully. Remember, simple emails. You can use LinkedIn. You can use find various lists of, for example, VCs, but really focus on the sector that you're building in. Go after those VCs instead of the broad. And I wouldn't focus on the biggest ones at first. I definitely apply to a few of the accelerators, but small investors can help you grow as well.